Animation is officially back in theaters, baby. Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is going to be a little bit of a news story and a little bit of a follow-up of a video we did a couple days ago about Disney deciding to take Pixar's Turning Red, and instead of giving a proper theatrical release, because Pixar deserves theatrical releases, they don't deserve to be treated like trash and to have their movies given away for free as if there's some disposable toy that comes with a Happy Meal. No, Pixar movies should be in theaters, and there's been a lot of discourse on why this wasn't the case. Some people said, Omicron is up. Some people said, animation isn't doing very well in theaters. That Disney has to do this. And the answer to that is no. They don't need to do this, as Sing 2 has officially proven by becoming the first animated film in over 2 years to gross $100 million at the US box office. Keep in mind, this is the US box office. This isn't the worldwide box office, this is US. Worldwide, the film has done better. So this comes to us from Cartoon Brew, a wonderful site that I love. So, the dry spell of animation has finally ended at the US box office. For the first time in over 2 years, an animated feature has cracked $100 million at the domestic box office. The film is NBC Universal / Illumination Sing 2, which picked up an estimated $11.95 million in its third weekend, pushing its total to $109 million. The strong third weekend performance of the Gareth Jennings directed pick is even more impressive, considering that it also became available for home rental last Friday. When they say home rental, that means that yes, you can rent Sing 2 on premium video on demand for $25, which you will then have 48 hours to watch it. For some families that's cheaper, but of course you don't get the theatrical experience, and so people are opting to instead go out to the theaters instead of paying that outrageous rental fee. So continuing, the last film to top 100 million was Frozen 2 back in 2019. That film was one of 6 animated films to reach the milestone that year. In fact, over the last decade, at least 5 animated films have reached 100 million at the domestic box office annually, and they have a little chart now. 2021 to date, 0. Now, this was a couple months ago, but we officially now have 1 animated film that has reached $100 million. And that has been, Sing 2. Now, that brings into question, why on earth did this happen? Why on earth did this happen? I mean, clearly Sing 2 is making money at the box office. Encanto, despite what people are saying, was a minor success and probably would have been a bigger success had it not been known way up front, way too early, that, hey, you can see it in theaters, or you can wait 3 weeks and it'll be on Disney+. Okay, technically 4, but you know what I mean. Basically, people knew that Encanto was going to be on Disney Plus within 30 days, and they wouldn't have to pay for it. Thus, a lot of families just opted to, wait home. But if you release a movie exclusively in theaters, and after a few weeks you bring it out on digital, but you're charging a premium for it, well, then people might choose to see it in theaters. So here's the thing that I also want to talk about. This did not need to happen. I mean, I've said that already, and some people have been arguing like, hey, Disney needs to do this because these movies are not making money, and so why would you put it in theaters if it's not making money? Well, I mean, that's kind of a point. It's not a very good point, because I would argue, well, my question is, if you just spent a couple $100 million on it, or whatever it is, why wouldn't you try to reclaim something? Why would you say like, hey, animation's not making money in theaters, so you know what? Let's not even try. Let's just give it away. Let's cut our losses. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you just going to not make these movies anymore? I mean, I don't really understand what the thought process is. And I also don't seem to understand the thought process where people say like, oh, well, they need to do this for Pixar films. Okay. But why only Pixar films? Why is it only the Pixar films? Disney's most successful company outside of Marvel right now. And Pixar movies have made more money than Star Wars, I also want to add. Like, why only Pixar films go to Disney Plus? Why didn't Cruella go to Disney Plus for free? Why didn't Mulan? Why didn't Jungle Cruise? Why didn't Black Widow? Why didn't Raya and the Last Dragon? Artemis Fowl did go to Disney Plus at no additional charge, but honestly, are you that surprised? I mean, Artemis Fowl was foul. I hate to say it. It was a terrible, terrible movie. You watch that movie and it's like, oh yeah, I could see why they would do this, because they knew that, first of all, if they saved this movie and paid the interest on what they borrowed and released it in theaters, they were going to be paying how much extra interest for this movie, for a movie that when it opened after the first day would have a Twitter effect where everyone was on there saying, don't see this is terrible, and it would just diminish throughout the weekend. Kind of like Day One, or not Day One, it was that movie with Will Smith and Jaden Smith, and it was directed by M. Night Shyamalan, Earth Now, something like that. I forgot what it's called. But that movie was so bad that on the first day, word of mouth got out so much on Twitter that on the next couple days, when the grosses are usually going up on Saturday, they just kept going down and down. And that's probably what would happen to Artemis Fowl. Would that have happened with Turning Red? It's possible, but it's not especially likely. And, you know, so I don't understand. I think Disney is treating Pixar differently than they are everyone else at the studio, and I don't get it. Now, some people like to bring up Encanto as like a reason why they're doing this. Well, let's look at Encanto. Look at what it's made in theaters. It has made $92.4 million domestically, $123.1 million internationally, for a worldwide total of $215.5 million. Now, is that a huge success? Well, it kind of depends how much the movie costs. If this movie costs $200 million, then no, it's definitely in the red. But I mean, look at that. That's not nothing. And you have to wonder, what would it have done if it didn't go to Disney Plus? Someone made the argument that Encanto went viral after it went to Disney Plus, so clearly Disney Plus is the way to go. But the thing is, I think the newer generation does not really understand economics. Okay, yeah, the movie is going viral, but so what? It's not going viral in a way that is producing financial results. I mean, the soundtrack has gone up to #1 at the Billboard, and that's great for them. People aren't buying CDs anymore, they're just streaming the music, so it's pennies on the dollar. I mean, what if, you know, this movie had been in theaters and gained the word of mouth? I mean, it went home. It went home just before Christmas. Why wouldn't you have a movie like Encanto in theaters on the Christmas day when families go to movies? They're going to see Sing 2, they're going to see Spider-Man, but you gave them the option to just skip the theaters and stay at home. You know, it's going viral and no one's buying tickets. It does not make any sense what Disney is doing right now. Now then, what do Pixar think about this? Well, there's a lot of reports that Pixar is going to be making this public. Empire City, who does have contacts within Pixar, made a couple tweets that were interesting. First of all, they said, talked to an acquaintance at Pixar a few minutes ago to say that they are furious at Disney Plus, and especially Bob Chapek is an understatement. They are planning to fight back much like Scarlett Johansson did and make it a public battle. Stay tuned. And he quoted at least one Pixar employee who said, after they put Soul and Luca, we were told that Turning Red would be in theaters and this wouldn't happen again. To have them pull the rug at the last second is a betrayal. Most want to get out from Disney and go create their own thing. Basically, they're getting really tired that Disney keeps putting their movies on Disney Plus. Now, I'm going to have to play devil's advocate for a second, because I believe that people will leave Pixar. And they will leave it because they are tired of the lies. The unfortunate thing is I'm not entirely sure where they could go where things would be a whole lot better. I mean, yes, they could move to Netflix. They could go work for John Lasseter at Skydance. They could go make animation for Apple TV Plus. Unfortunately, a lot of these companies are making their animated movies for streaming, not the theaters. Heck, you could even go and work for Paramount. They've got a nice animation department, but they, at the very last minute, pulled Rumble from theaters and put it straight to Paramount Plus. Now, granted, that movie was terrible, so that might have struggled at the box office. But, you know, it's just strange that I think, I don't know what to say about this, to be perfectly honest. And this is why some movie critics look at Spider-Man's box office success and they don't look at it as the savior as most people do. Yes, Spider-Man is bringing people to the theaters. That's absolutely clear, and it's true. But there's also kind of a double-edged sword. If only Spider-Man is making major money, and look, Sing 2 is successful, but it's not making Spider-Man money, then what kind of message does that send to the studios? It basically says, well, get the big budget superhero guys in tights in theaters and put everything else on the streaming platform, because Wall Street wants them streaming numbers to go up. Even though, as I point out in other videos, what's 500 million views count in a financial, like how does that translate to finances? No one's been able to explain it so far. So anyway, this is where we're going to kind of end this video, a little bit of an update. I know that Cartoon Brew is trying to get Pixar employees to share their side of the story and all of this, and I would love to do a follow-up video about what Pixar really thinks. I can't imagine they're very happy right now. But in the meantime, if you want to see animation continue to thrive in theaters, you know what? Don't stream Encanto on Disney Plus. Find a theater. There's a few that are still out there, and go buy a ticket. Go buy a ticket to Sing 2. If you're having concerns about your health, you know, that's definitely something to consider. I don't want you to do something that you're uncomfortable with just to see movies in theaters, obviously. But, you know, if you are feeling comfortable going out and you want to see these movies in theaters, then you've got to buy tickets and see them in theaters. Not to mention, more and more often, if you're a 3D fan, theater is the only way you're going to be able to see these movies in 3D, because most of them aren't coming to Blu-ray 3D. But anyway, that's where we're going to end this particular video. What do you think of this? Has your opinion on Turning Red going straight to streaming changed now that you know that Sing 2 is actually doing pretty well in the theaters? In fact, Sing 2 might even pass 300 million before this is all said and done. Like, would that change your mind at all? Or do you think, nah, don't even attempt to get even a fraction of your money back in theaters. Just put it on Disney Plus, get the views, whatever that means really, and cut your losses. I mean, I don't know. I think there's a fair amount of people who look at situations like this and they see views as like, oh, well, that's success. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing. If you have one store on the left of the mall and another store on the right of the mall, and on the left of the mall, they're selling iPhones at $2,000 a pop. But at the right of the mall, they're giving the phones away for free. Like, you just have to pay $6 to get into the store, or let's say $50 to get into the store, and then you can basically take home as many toys as you want. And obviously that one's going to go a lot faster, but is that really a success? I don't know. It's interesting to me. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think about all of this. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.